I stepped into our bedroom that night with nothing heavy on my mind. It was just another Thursday, the kind where the world feels tired and your bones feel older than they should. I kicked off my boots, loosened my tie, and pushed the door open without a second thought. But the way Sarah jumped told me everything. She wasn't just startled. She looked caught, like someone who'd been living inside a lie and finally heard the footsteps of truth walking down the hallway. Her phone slipped from her hand and bounced on the mattress. The screen lit up once, bright enough for me to catch a glimpse of something. Just a flash of a name I didn't recognize. And the look she gave me wasn't the look of a woman surprised by her husband coming home early. It was the look of someone terrified that a secret had finally run out of places to hide. "Hey," I said slowly, almost cautiously, because suddenly the air felt different. She forced a smile. "You scared me. You're home early." "Yeah," I replied, hanging my jacket. The job wrapped quicker than expected. Her breathing wasn't settling. Her shoulders stayed tense. She kept glancing at the phone like it was a ticking bomb. And all I had to do was get close enough to hear it beep. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing," she said too quickly. "Just a long day. Funny how you can live with someone for nearly a decade, share a bed, share a life, and then one day a single glance tells you you're sharing absolutely nothing anymore." I sat on the edge of the bed. "Sarah? If something's going on, talk to me." She swallowed hard. "There's nothing going on." But her eyes wouldn't stay on me for even a second. I reached for her hand, but she pulled it back like my touch burned. And that hurt more than anything because that wasn't fear of me. It was fear of being known. She stood suddenly. "I should start dinner." "Sit down," I said quietly. Her breath hitched. She stayed standing. So I stood instead. I walked toward her slowly. Not angry, not accusing, just tired of feeling distance that didn't make sense. Her heartbeat was visible in her throat. Her fingers trembled, and that panic, God, that raw panic, was louder than any confession she could have given. "Who were you texting?" I asked. She froze completely. And that's how I knew the truth didn't need an answer. Her silence was the answer. I stepped back. Not out of fear, not out of weakness, but out of clarity. Sometimes it takes one moment, one look to rewrite the past year of confusion. Suddenly all the late-night girls' plans, all the "I'm too tired," all the "you're imagining things" made a twisted kind of sense. Not dramatic sense, not explosive, just quiet. The kind that sinks its teeth in and stays. "Ethan," she finally whispered. But I wasn't ready for her version. Not yet. I needed the truth without her edits. "I'm going for a walk," I said, grabbing my keys. She stepped forward quickly. "Wait, please. Let's just talk." "It's not what you think." I paused at the doorway. "Then what is it?" She hesitated. And that hesitation, that was it. That was the moment I felt something inside me shift. Something painful but strangely steady. She didn't have an answer ready because you can't rewrite a story you've already lived in the dark. "I'll be back in a little while," I said. "Ethan, please." But I walked out anyway. Outside, the cold hit me like reality made of wind. I stood on the porch, hands on the railing, breathing slow. I wasn't angry, just done with pretending the cracks in our marriage were anything but deliberate. My phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. A picture of my wife in our bedroom tonight, the same room I just walked into. My heart didn't drop. It didn't shatter. It just settled like it already knew, because the panic in her eyes had told me everything long before that photo did. I stared at the picture for a long moment, not because I couldn't process what I was seeing, but because a part of me had already known. Maybe not consciously, maybe not fully, but somewhere deep inside, the truth had been trying to speak for months. That picture was just the punctuation at the end of a sentence I'd been avoiding. It wasn't explicit. It didn't show anything graphic. Just Sarah sitting on the edge of the bed. Her hair slightly messy, her expression tense, exactly how she looked when I walked in. But the angle was wrong. Too low, too close. Someone had taken it recently, inside my home, and the timestamp in the corner read 7 minutes before I walked in. I leaned against the porch railing as the night pulled in tighter around me. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't spiraling. It was strange, almost terrifying. How calm I felt, like the storm had passed and all that was left now was the quiet ruin afterward. My phone buzzed again. "Unknown number. Thought you deserved to know." I didn't reply. There was nothing to say. I walked down the street, the cold asphalt crunching under my boots. Our neighborhood in Aurora, Colorado was the sort where every house looked like a snapshot of a life trying to appear whole, lights glowing behind curtains, the dull hum of televisions, families finishing dinner. The kind of peace I used to imagine for myself. Funny how quickly a life becomes unrecognizable. By the time I circled back to the house, I'd made a decision, not out of rage, not out of wounded pride, but out of something simpler, honesty. Honesty with myself. Something I hadn't practiced in months. Inside, the house was silent. I expected Sarah to be pacing, crying, shouting something. But she was sitting on the couch, elbows on her knees, staring at the floor like it had answers written on it. When she heard the door shut, she looked up. Her eyes were red. "Ethan," she whispered. "Please, can we talk?" I sat in the armchair across from her. I didn't lean forward. I didn't soften my voice. I didn't harden it either. I just spoke plainly. "Who took the picture?" Her face went pale. Not surprised, just exposed. I don't know what you're talking about," she cried. "Sarah," I said quietly. "You're a better liar when you're calm. Right now you're shaking." She closed her eyes. A single tear slipped down. She wiped it quickly, almost angrily, like crying was a luxury she no longer deserved. "It's not what you think," she said again. "Then tell me what it is." She swallowed hard. "I ended it a while ago. I swear. I told him it was a mistake. I told him I loved you." "Who is he?" Her silence stretched. "Sarah," I repeated. "Who is he?" When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "His name is Ryan." A name that meant nothing to me. Somehow that hurt even more. Affairs that come from strangers feel colder, more deliberate, less accidental. She kept going, words spilling now like she'd been holding them back too long. "It was stupid. It was lonely. I was lonely. You were always working, always distracted, always tired." "Careful," I said softly. "Don't make this my fault." She broke again. "I'm not. I'm just explaining." I nodded once. "Okay. And the picture?" Her lips pressed together. "He's angry. I blocked him 2 weeks ago. He kept messaging, calling. I told him to stop. So he took that picture to get your attention." She nodded, tears slipping silently now. "And you didn't think to mention that a man you slept with might be watching our house?" "I didn't think he'd, Ethan, I didn't know he'd do something like that." Her voice trembled. Mine didn't. "Sarah," I said, "you lost the right to ask me to understand anything tonight." She cried harder then. Not the dramatic sobs of guilt, but the quiet, exhausted grief of someone who knows the ending has already been written. I stood. "Where are you going?" she whispered. "To protect my life," I said simply. "And what's left of myself. Ethan, please don't leave." But that's the thing. She'd already left long before I walked into that bedroom. I reached the door, paused, and looked back at her one last time. Not at the woman I married, but at the woman I no longer knew. "You didn't just cheat," I said quietly. "You let someone else into our home, into our safety, into the last part of me that trusted you." Her breath broke. "I'm not angry," I told her. "But I'm done." And with that I stepped out the door.